everyone, welcome back into Primetime TV on our We Prime today, aren't we?
Absolutely.
We are so fired up, and we're going to reveal why, but not necessarily in today's show. But I'm Barbara Marville-Kelly. With me is my partner in crime, not really crime, but partner in love, dedication, fulfillment.
Partly in love.
Yeah.
Where's the other half?
You're the other half.
Oh, okay.
Did you not figure that out?
No, not yet.
Anyway, thanks for joining us. This is my husband, Dennis Kelly, 6-time world martial arts champion. I had to get that out because you're doing so well in spite of some of the health challenges that we face from time to time.
I pay her 50 cents to say nice things about me.
That's not enough.
You didn't ask for a raise, did you?
No, I didn't. But we're glad everyone's joined us today. We actually started celebrating Valentine Week this past weekend, just enjoying life, laughing and having fun and loving and sending the love out around the world and all that. But you know, on a serious note, we take our lives seriously, very seriously, but not without humor, not without fun and things of that nature. Because, you know, we talk about my husband and some of the issues he's had over time with the fall that you did, the going into renal failure. Let's see, I can just count them almost on one hand, but the things have been too many. And the reason why we do our show and our series called Ageless Living is because we use WeBeam TV and Prime Time together right here in the Gulfview Square Mall. Big, beautiful, professional studio station. We use this as a platform to deliver our message, to get out there. If we help even one person in any one of our shows, we know that we've succeeded. So I know a lot of you have actually seen the show, and I know we've been in and out for obvious reasons, right?
Right.
But we're back. We never give up. It's our daily mantra, no matter what's happening. What do you have to say?
I'm glad to be here.
That's perfect.
This is our fun time of the week.
I know, it really is. Do you know we're on episode, is it 208? It is.
That's hard to believe.
We've done 208 episodes in, I think, going on 8 years. I'm not sure. But we've gone from one studio to the next, and WeBeam TV keeps getting better and better. So we feel that this is a great time to talk about things. And ageless living, what is that? And now, we do not rehearse our show. We have a few notes on what we're going to be talking about. And basically, if you're going to watch the whole show, that's great. If you can only tune in for a few moments, that's great too. Any little small portion that we can help you with, that's what we're here to do. So basically on Ageless Living, we share tried and true programs. If we're talking about different things that we're doing to help ourselves on the inside, which helps us on the outside, we share that too. But we do research the researchers because that's how we roll. We want to know that before we talk about something to someone like yourself that watches the show, we want to know what we're talking about. So I'm going to turn over and let my husband do a little open himself, because sometimes we have not been able to be here with you, for obvious reasons, especially for the last 2 years. But anytime we are able to be here, you can count on us every Monday from 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Eastern Time. So, Champ, you got a lot to share, and we only have 1 hour. What do you have to say about ageless living? You're living, breathing proof.
You know, some people they're walking dead. They just haven't buried them yet.
Huh.
That scare you?
That's pretty darn profound when you had no idea what I was going to ask you.
No, I haven't, really. You testing me?
Well, okay, let's talk about that. What do you mean, walking dead? In other words,
they're walking dead. They're not here with it mentally. They're in another world, or they're nowhere. They're just going through the motions of moving, walking, and even in some cases talking. Yet if you ask them what they talked about, what they did, they wouldn't remember. And that's not necessarily just a case of bad memory. It's a case of bad positioning. You know, when I say positioning, being at the wrong time, at the wrong place, someplace you don't want to go, and if you're very sensitive, that may not be a good idea. Mm-hmm. So in other words, if you roll with the punches, I say, to be successful, live a good, comfortable life. I not necessarily mean financially, because I've seen people that are indigent that are still happier than the millionaires. It's being able to take and plan your day a little bit so you don't get out of source. And they call segment intending in the psychological world. And that's just planning, before I go for a ride in the car, before I come here, I'll say a little, it's not necessarily a prayer, but I picture it's going to be a very successful run. We're not going to have any challenges, and so on. That way, if you are like I am, a blue knuckle flyer when I drive with somebody else and I'm not driving, and Barb can tell you I am a pain in the butt. However, I've been working on that. That's been one of my things I've been working on. And being able to ride with somebody and not be nervous is one of my conquests of the year.
Well, and you know I'm a very good driver. I've never caused an accident ever in all the years that I've been driving, but you still just, you still have a thing. But you're overcoming that like you're overcoming a lot of things. When we talk about ageless living, I really want to set this up in the beginning of the show here so that you understand that when we take care of ourselves and crisis hits, we have found that we stand out a better chance of surviving accidents, illness, infections, different things like that. And, my husband's going to be 84 next month. And the reason why I love to brag on him is because he has really created a life of legacy that I love to share, because I've been with him every time he has made his accomplishments in the last 26 years. And, maybe you're not looking to go for the gold as far as, winning martial arts championships, but maybe you're looking to champion your life for a better life. And goodness knows for the last 2 years, I don't know anyone that hasn't had a challenge. And now we're cleaning up the mess. We're cleaning up the mess. And I tell you, we are so happy and so excited where we're going. In 2022, it's right here, right now. We're going to share everything that we've learned over the years. We're going to drill it down so that it's easy for you to understand, maybe even take some notes, maybe even try some of the things that we've done. So I'm going to just only spend a few moments to let you know, give you an update, because I think this is our first show, or did we do one in January? I forget now, because I lose track of that.
I really couldn't tell you.
Yeah, because there was, for one thing or another, I think this is our first show. The last week, it was Women Unscripted, and we did a little celebration of life on our friend Marcella Zinner. And I had the girls there, and it was a lovely show. It truly was. But for those of you that maybe are tuning in for the first time, just to kind of rewind about, it was probably 3 years ago when you took a fall with an abutment on the sidewalk. And my husband went missing for 2.5 hours. It was getting dusk, and I had no idea if I was ever going to see him again. He took a fall, and he apparently got the first concussion on one side of the brain. He got up and then lost his balance as a result of that, got a concussion over here, got up again, and still went back down again. And interestingly enough, where we live, there's a lot of golfers there, and there was a golfing grandpa that had his grandkids with him and came and picked him up, went over to the clubhouse, and I had called the sheriff at that time. Now, hold that thought for just a moment. You were 81 at the time.
Yeah, right.
81 at the time. And so, okay, miracle number one. He came out of that perfectly fine. The concussions healed and all. Then he went into renal failure, what was a year ago? A year ago. And
something like that, close enough to that.
Bad UTI, emergency, 911 had to come, took him off. He pulled it off really well and came around even with that, with renal failure. Had prostate surgery, came around from that. And then the last little bit of happiness was really fun. That was 4 weeks ago today. He passed out in our home. His eyes rolled back into his head, and I'm going, oh my God, is this it? And I shook him, and he came to because he wasn't moving. And I took his blood pressure, and I had called 911, and his blood pressure was 60-something over 38. That was not good.
No, not too good.
Son of a gun. The good Lord wasn't ready for him again. Thank you, right? So he overcame that just to find out that it wasn't anything that he was doing to himself or anything like that. It was from a side effect from 2 separate medications that actually lowers the blood pressure, and he, being an athlete, runs a low blood pressure. So that was another miracle. So let's ask ourselves a little bit of common sense. If you were the average, which you are not, the average 83-year-old senior citizen, I just asked myself, how would he have survived? Or would he have? Right? How do you feel about all? I mean, I know you count your blessings, and so do I. And that's why we're so determined to talk about what we talk about on these shows. What do you think?
Well, I think the important thing is why I was able to survive so many different things. You only covered a small part.
Oh, I know.
That it's like the guy with the 9 lives, knock on wood. Yeah, my worst situation, as I said several times when we had the show, is back in that Chattanooga in 1971, I crashed into a tree with my drag car at 140 miles an hour, almost dead on, totally disintegrated the car, and everything that was left of the car was just right around me. It was like a miracle that you would never believe. And when I looked at the car, and after the next couple of days, they towed it out of it went down a lake after it went over the hill and hit that tree head on. So anyway, I think part of it is there's a lot of quantum physics and things like what I'm about to say, but there is a lot of proof that what I'm about to say, even though it doesn't sound very practical, that when you are in a frequency, in other words, we vibrate at frequency, and everybody has their own frequency. So when you take and get your frequency in a negative frequency over a couple of times, that sometimes can bring about other people that have the same frequency, negative, that would bring them to your side or with you, and you don't want to stay around people like that too often. So anyway, I contributed a lot of the things that I do to try to help people. Sometimes they resent it. Sometimes they want to not hear about it. And sometimes I think that brings about them not being able to blend in with my frequency.
And that does happen. It does happen. We talk about that being not only certified with HeartMath Institute, where they do the studies on frequency among humans and even animals, for heaven's sakes. And we've taught a lot of that. We're going to be doing way more of it. We're also going to have, hopefully, Howard Martin come on board. He was supposed to be here. It was the week that you took that fall. And Howard Martin has been with HeartMath Institute for many, many years. We even sold the program on HSN, sold our program right out because it works, has the documentation and all. And so that's part of what we're going to share in our Ageless Living is, where do you start? If you were to ask yourself, where do I start to have a better life for myself? Where would it be? If you were to ask me, my answer would be create a very strong foundation in faith. Number one, first and foremost. That has really brought us to where we are today is through prayer and serious, serious belief that we have a Heavenly Father that is watching over us. And then I would start thinking about, look at yourself. How healthy are you? How do you feel? It's all about the choices that we make for ourselves. One of my first lessons was by Chad Helmstetter on what we say when we talk to ourselves and how we have the ability to make choices. Well, sometimes we make wrong choices. So when it comes to choices, how do we make the right choices? We live a heart-centered life. We live a life with heart empowerment. And the heart empowerment that we talk about is based on the science and the proof that it works. It definitely works. And so, like you were saying, in a lower frequency, that's probably not the best time to make a decision. Would you agree?
That's true. And the key is to try to keep our frequency at what we call a high frequency. In other words, if you drew a line across a piece of paper, you have 10 numbers up, 10 numbers down. The up is the positive frequency in tenths, and that was like 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, and each one has 10. And the key is to try to keep your frequency above 0. 0 is basically what we call the neutral area. The bad part about that is if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. So when you're in neutral, I'm trying to remember we just did segment antennae. I'm trying to remember the name of the neutral. It has its own name. And when you go to neutral, it's sort of a collection of relaxation and whatever you make it. But the key is not to try to have any frequency whatsoever as far as loud or soft for a few minutes a day. It's called meditation.
And that's what keeps you grounded.
That's right. And people that meditate on the whole live longer than people that don't. There's so many researchers that went out there, and I could quote you several of them, that the frequency has so much to do with everything that goes on in your life. And if somebody is negative around you, you don't want to stay around them too long. You either correct the challenger, because they can lower your frequency.
Absolutely.
When I ran my businesses, I had 18 staff members, and we checked on our frequency every day. And each one knew what their frequency level was positive and what it was negative. And it took time to get them acclimated to wanting to do it. They, oh, this is so stupid. But our business is outperformed the other businesses. I had 7 state franchises in a business, and it outgrossed all the other franchise ones that were available to positive. And that was because we always were responsible for our frequency. So when somebody starts getting on your case, you don't want to stand there and let them lower your frequency. We do that, both Barb and I. If I get out of hand or a little something like that, she'll say, don't lower, she'll say, lower your frequency, and it reminded me. Sometimes I have to be reminded, but to me, it sets me aside of the average person in so many different ways. And it's not that I want to be average to brag about what I can do, what I can't do, and so on. The key is having a frequency that lives up, let me rephrase that, having a frequency that is stimulated by passion. It's almost impossible to build an empire with a single thought or whatever, because of the fact is, if you don't have a passion for it, if you're not passionate for it, when you're passionate, your frequency goes sky high. When you're passionate, your frequency discovers ways that you can get there quicker and so on. If you don't have a passion for frequency and you set a goal, you're not going to make it. If you make it, it's going to be very diluted. The key is, if you want to set a goal, no matter how ridiculous it may seem, get passionate. How do you get passionate? Well, see yourself already receiving the goal. See yourself as participating. Like, I never forget when I wanted to see this, when Trans Am came out in 1998, I wanted the car, but at that time I had invested money that was not doing like I wanted to, so I didn't want to take a chance. But I pictured that car. In fact, I went over to the dealer, got in one of the Trans Ams, sat there and watched the speedometer go up to 160. In other words, not watch the speedometer go up to, but I saw the 160 on the speedometer, and I thought to myself, I want this car. And I would see it every day. Within a couple weeks, I had the car and didn't have to risk any of my funds.
You know, I'm glad that you brought that up, because we've had a major breakthrough I would say just last week. And it has carried me through on such a high for something that I've always wanted to do. It has to do with where we're here now. It has to do with you. And we will be releasing it probably next week, possibly. So try to tune in to our shows. I may even post something on Facebook, but you know, if you've ever watched the movie The Law of Attraction, you know, The Secret about the Law of Attraction, I give Rhonda Burns credit for writing the book. The movie is awesome. And in her book, she says, find a way. Find a way. But she didn't tell us how. But we have the way. And we've been living this way for, well, since I've been with you 26 years.
Right.
And it's living that heart-centered life. And it has to do with that frequency. And what we're going to do is we're going to actually do some workshops here. You have your whiteboards with, workshops if you want a seminar. Because when things were opened up, you were going around to major corporations doing seminars, doing talks, and just really up on stage with many hundreds of people. And years later, we'll get a phone call from someone. I mean, remember when you were doing the circuit with the martial arts and he had book signings and there was one place, only one person showed up. But you know what? That one person bought his book and we sat and visited, and it was so wonderful because later on, they'd get a hold of us and they'd say, that made a difference in my life. That's why we're here, is we want to make a difference in your life. Do we know everything about everything? No, but we know a lot about a lot. And we're living this life. That's how we've been able to push through the last couple of years. I can't say flow through. It wasn't an easy flow for any one of us. But that the past is the past. The past doesn't equal the future. We're moving forward on new ground. Many of us are starting over, and I mean, to start over at 73 and 83 for us, let me tell you something. It's an easy breeze right now because our passion has never, ever changed. So when my husband talks about passion, well, I've coached many women. I've done some workshops myself, and believe it or not, and I've done networking groups. And we actually we did a talk on what your passion was. And there was two people that were really dumbfounded with my question with them about what's your passion. And they didn't know what their passion was. I will give John Gaston, who's producer here, extraordinaire, of Primetime and all the shows that he produces here on We Beam TV. He was in the networking group. We actually hosted it at our other studio. And we were doing vision boards, is what we were doing. And John didn't do a vision board. I said, you don't need to do one. He says, why is that? I said, because you are living in your passion. All around us. If you came to the studio here at Gulfview Square Mall, you would see his passion, the superheroes and nerd talk. That's John's passion. He's in it. He stepped into it many years ago. Probably didn't even realize it. Maybe he did. But I share this with you because when you have passion, absolutely nothing stops you. Right?
That's never been put than that.
Nothing will stop you. You may have a little detour, but how you deal with that, how you perceive that detour is a failure, which can be good. Yeah?
Failures actually are what we learn by. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's better to have a failure in something than to succeed. Mm-hmm. Because if the success does not take you any further, where if you failed, it would make you work a little bit harder to take it further. And a lot of times where I should say fail, but it was failed, and I would simply fix it, I would do better than if I would have first won this first place first before I fought him again in the ring. We're talking about in the ring now. The same thing works in business. If you want to really be successful, take and analyze what your mistakes are and then focus on the part that recruits whatever it takes and needs to make that successful.
And you've done that many times over. We both have separately when we were, before we were an item, before we were married, after we were married. We've been married 21 years. And we just feel like we're babies. We are getting ready to embark on something that we have both dreamed about, prayed about. And if you've ever tuned into the show, you know that my husband's dream is to have The Legend of Tango Man produced. And we're just going to keep praying about that because some of the other things have been coming to fruition, and we're really excited about it. I want to go back to just a moment when you were in the process of writing your book, and I met you at the gym, and I went in there to help myself get healthier because I was working the overnights at the Home Shopping Network. It was affecting my circadian rhythms and all kinds of different things. And my husband was the director at the health club in Newport Richey, and we met, and it was just a good thing. And he was in the process of writing the 6 Steps to the Fountain of Youth, and I don't know how far you had gone, but he used me as an example so that I could share in the book how it worked. Do you know how old this book is? 1996, right?
Yeah.
1996.
February 1996.
Yep. And we actually sold a big supply out on the Home Shopping Network. I'm not really here to try to sell you the book because we don't really have many left.
We've got 2 boxes left.
That's it. So, but the reason why I wanted to share this with you is because every single one of our steps are in this book, the 6 steps. And you just prayed about this and what to write, and you had somebody sponsor you and publish the book for you.
Yeah.
And we're so proud of this because what worked back in 1996 still works today. Why don't you tell them why you did the 6 steps? Because it talks about nutrition, it talks about exercise, it talks about everything in this book, this one lone book from 1996. He's working on his next one, the champion within. Each one of you were born a champion. So what made you do the 6 steps like that?
That's a good question. I really wanted, first of all, to have a book published. Because to really be successful in the world of seminars, the world of education, you've got to have a book. And you don't have to, but it's a lot harder to approach a corporate business wanting them to do your seminar and you don't have a book or have anything.
Right, because people want to take something away.
Or now, of course, it's DVDs and everything else. Books aren't quite as popular, but I love books. And the one thing about it, if you're a leader, you've got to be a reader. If you're a reader, you got to be, you don't have to be a leader, but that's the approach to being a leader. So I wanted to be a good leader. I wanted as much knowledge as I could because up to that time, I was reading a book every other week to every 30 days. I was reading a book. In our house, there's more room for the books than there is for the rest of us. Because as a high school dropout, it was very difficult for me to think success. It was survival. And over the period of the years, I picked the right mentors to take me under their wing. And first thing he said, get to reading books. You want a book and a half, otherwise we're not going to do this, do that. And so I did that. I read a book about, well, right now I'm reading 5 books. But I usually read a book once a month or something like that, normally. But because there's so many things happening that are positive, that I want to be prepared. To me, preparation is the best.
Oh, preparation is the key. You know, the 6 steps is actually outlined in week 1, week 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And the sort of acronym for, is that the best way to say it, where the 6 steps are all about mind, body, spirit, using the mind as the map, the body as the vehicle, and the spirit as the
trilogy. The
trilogy. Okay, so hold that thought for just a minute. And what we've broken down, well, I say we, like I wrote the book. I didn't. The only thing I did, which was to share my testimonial in it, but it's made a difference in my life. And when I follow this, even if I deviate a little bit and have a piece of carrot cake with you or whatever, it's okay. But the 6 steps, week 1, you get physical. Exercise, right?
Right, could be washing the car.
Yeah.
Could be anything. But
Yeah.
the key thing is getting physical daily. That is so critical. And like I said, you don't have to be an exercise buff. You can do things that are simple but effective. And there's so much knowledge now out there on what to do that you have to really, really stay with it to keep up with what's the trend. And the trend isn't always the best. Like when the twist came out as a dance, there was more people ended up in the chiropractor's office.
That's what put me down on the dance floor a couple of years ago.
Yeah, that's right. That was the twist.
Do you
that did
remember that?
Yeah.
Oh my
I
goodness.
tried to forget it.
I healed myself with a torn meniscus and ACL. Healed it myself just by having the knowledge. Anyway, week 2, the ABCs and more, including supplements. Why are supplements so important?
Let me first, before I go back to the supplements, let's go back to the exercise. Here's an important statistic that I want you to really take at heart and think about if you're not exercising. If you're 35 years of age, you do not exercise, by the time you turn 60, you've lost 50% of your physical prowess.
That's a lot.
You lost 50% of your mental acuity.
Whew.
Just by not reading or studying or having any learning process, exercise I meant to say. So that if you exercise 3 times a week, simple exercise, doesn't have to be grunt work, all right, and you do that 3 times a week, starting at 35, by the time you turn 60, you've only lost 12.5% of your physical prowess and of your mental acuity. That is proven facts. The thing is, what's so beautiful is if you are 65 or older and you haven't exercised, there is so much now knowledge on how to do it properly that you can get benefits right up until you're 80 and 90.
Like you. Like you.
Well, I don't know if you want to be like me. You might get tired of that stuff.
No, but the point that I'm trying to make,
just trying to be funny.
even though you've had the surgeries and everything, excuse me, we've had physical therapy coming to the house. Eric, he is a sweetheart. You know what he did is he put together a program for my husband based on his martial arts drills. So his muscles have memory. He's gained 23 pounds. He's gained his pecs, his lats, his muscles are coming back because they were starting to atrophy because he couldn't exercise. And then the gyms were closed. Well, never mind, I don't want to go there, but you know where I'm going with that. And week 3, eat and enjoy. My husband is also a certified sport nutritionist, so he knows about nutrition, diet, the human body. He is a certified fitness trainer, so I mean, they go hand in hand with one another. Why wouldn't he be following his own advice? And here is the real kicker, is downsizing your stress, learning how to relax. You see this word right behind us above? The word love? We can do, my goodness, we could probably do a whole week seminar just on love and what the emotion of love does for you.
It's the highest frequency of anything in the universe.
Yes.
Yes. In the Bible it says, get right one with the universe, and the universe is 7 point hertz. The whole universe, 7 point hertz. And how was I going to relate that?
It's the relation of the frequency of that emotion.
Yeah. The love is such a high frequency that no matter what you do, it is probably the strongest as far as raising the frequency of any exercise. It's the mental exercise of making a life a beautiful, comfortable place rather than arguing and fighting and swearing and cussing each other out. That's passé. That's the past.
Exactly. And we have done some various workshops on learning how to understand that frequency. It's not difficult, and how to live from the heart through exercises, a mind exercises, and it's a very quick meditation. And we'll be doing that again. We do experiments here on the show because we want you to see what we are doing, and we might as well reveal it all even though you may not be here in the studio, I mean, we're doing things from afar. This channel goes worldwide, and we're very happy to be here. So, okay, so that was week 3. Week 4, excuse me, supplements, eat and enjoy, nutrition and diet. Oh, downsizing your stress. Week 5, here's a good one. Lemons make lemons from lemonade. No, it's making lemonade from lemons.
There you go.
I never noticed that before. A typo. Anyway, and that's true. Perception is everything. If you know me in the neighborhood, and I'm always talking about perception, you can take anything somebody says, find 2 meanings out of it. Always try to find something good rather than go down the bunny hole and something negative. The last one is week 6, unlimited bliss, okay? Your state management. I can close this book, put it down, and we could start talking about the love hormone, the emotion of love, and most people today, it appears this way, that there's a lot of people living in fear instead of faith and moving forward because we've all had enough. So we need to find our way to move forward. We have found our way to move forward. It hasn't changed. Our dreams, our goals has not changed, and that's why we're here, talking about this. But being in a state of bliss, I mean, that's really powerful. Do you think that bliss and passion come together?
Oh, absolutely, they can. Because if you're not positive, your frequency level is going to be low. And everything I do now is based around frequency levels. Mm-hmm. And the important thing is happiness. The problem with happiness, people keep seeking happiness. They keep trying to find happiness in the next person and the next thing. The key is not to seek happiness. Prepare yourself for if you find the right person, or if you have a situation where somebody's invested in you or bought your idea or won the lottery. The thing is to stay ahead of that by making sure that money doesn't control you, or that situation doesn't control you, or the fact that you are afraid to be successful. Believe it or not, there's more people that are afraid of success than afraid of failure in so many ways. Because, well, what am I going to do if I do get this? Well, where do I put the money and stuff? I mean, it's the craziest thing in the world when I work with people to have them come up with some of the excuses why they can't succeed.
Do they sabotage themselves, do you think?
Absolutely. They sabotage themselves because they don't feel they deserve it in a lot of cases. That's why these women that have a boyfriend that is dominating and takes their money and everything, you know what type of person. Mm-hmm. The thing is, it's hard for them, or hard for someone to understand why the man or so on, why he beats his wife or beats his woman or beats his girlfriend. That is hard to understand. Mm-hmm. The fact is, it's hard for people to understand. They want it because they feel like a bad person, like they haven't survived with success, and they don't like their world. So they let themselves get involved with people that do those things, and it's crazy. When you really research human engineering, you come up with some really wild things, why we do certain things. Let's see if I can remember this one. Far greater is it to do great things, wonderful things, than have your future tied around someone or something that makes you afraid to go further.
There's so much truth to that.
Theodore Roosevelt said that.
So there's so much truth to that. In fact, in our relationship seminars and workshops, we talk about that. We can't rely on anybody to make us happy. That's just for sure. We need to rely on ourselves to make ourselves happy and find the way. And it goes right back to the whole passionate thing, and really truly using the 6 steps or whatever program that you're using in a mind, body, spirit method. I know that that is a phrase that has been used and overused and used and overused, but there's a lot of truth to it. Use the mind as the map, the body as the vehicle, and the spirit as the fuel, and you will fuel your passion. I'm going to go back to something that I share on our Women Unscripted show, because Helena Trengata, also known as Tinkerbella, hello out there, we talk about when I had a little coach meetup at our villa. I had about 12 women there, and I asked the women, if you had everything that you ever wanted in the whole world, you've got your money in the bank, you've got your investments growing and doing for you, your house is paid off, you're married to your loved one, or you have a significant other, your kids are grown, or you're just raising the family, and you're already set for life, so you feel. Or you have a great job that you've been doing for a while, you're happy with it, they're happy with you, you get a raise every year. Would you be doing what you're doing right now if you had all that? It's a pretty strong question, isn't it? I had 3 women leave the room in tears, bawling, because they could not answer that question. And I've asked myself that for many years, if I had all that, because I don't. We're not rich, wealthy people, at least bank-wise. I mean, we're doing well. But the wealth is right here. It's in your heart. It's how you live your life and how you share and care with others. At least that's how we feel. I don't know. Is anybody out there that disagrees with that? Right? What do you think? Isn't love the glue that keeps everything together? I was at Sam's Club yesterday morning early, and there was a lady walking around in there, and she had a sweatshirt on, black and white, and it said, "Love is what we need." And it's so true. We could get rid of so many issues that are out there, politics-wise, just human engineering-wise, if we would just love one another. And just do it. Aren't we supposed to do? Isn't that what we're supposed to do? That's why we have this banner behind us in our shows, because we want to get that message out. I have my share of shirts too that says love, 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 love. We love love. It's wonderful to be in love and to love one another. But it's also great to love your pet and cozy up with your pet at bed at night. Our little Yorkies, we do that. But there's so much to learn about life still. We're still learning. We're still growing. And like I said, we just had a major breakthrough last week that I'm not able to talk about yet, because some of the moving parts, in fact, I think there are always going to be moving parts. I don't think they're going to stand still. I really don't. And we're just so excited, and we're just jazzed up. We're on fire. We really are hearts on fire. We are hearts on fire, and ready to share even more of what you've learned with us over the last almost 8 years that we've been doing the shows.
Right. And it's been quite an enjoyable thing, and something that gives me practice on being able to help people understand what you're trying to get across. Sometimes that's not easy, because the responsibility of 2 people working with each other, the responsibility with that is the responsibility goes to the one that's leading the seminar or leading the discussion, or one that's given his opinion or her opinion, that we had one of those Parkinson's moments there. By the way, if you haven't noticed, I have Parkinson's, but I try not to cover it up. I try to do things to get rid of it. And 12 years ago, I was diagnosed, and it was for a while there a downhill struggle. But then using all these things that I can get my hands on, especially with faith in God and my wife and family, and now it's a setback, and I've come forward, and I can do things now that I couldn't a year ago. And the interesting thing, I can do some things now because I work harder at pushing my personality and so on, as far as being comfortable, is that I lost my train of thought.
It's okay. You're good. You're doing good.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, I do that many times. I can't tell you how many times I walk back to the villa to get something, and then I got to go back in the kitchen to try to remember what I was doing. But I think we're doing pretty darn good. I do. And I love it when you talk about what you've learned and the fact that when you were diagnosed with it, and of course I just put my head in the sand and just went into total denial. Total denial. I go, what? That can't be. Well, after a number of car accidents, right?
Right.
And I mean, look at Muhammad Ali, even though you were fantastic on the defense. And, you know, my husband never competed for the sake of going in and violently beating people up or anything, right? It was point karate. It was a very skilled karate. He did that to show the power of human synergy when you take care of yourself. We've, so far, knock on wood, we have not picked up COVID. We feel that we're naturally immunized. Is that the end-all be-all? Who knows? But we don't go out like we used to, you know, hanging out at the clubs or anything like that. We haven't been dancing for a good while. But we're learning how to do some things at home. We've got plenty of room to... My husband took me one afternoon, wants to teach me the bolero. I said, all righty then, we're going to pick that up again. We have so many things to do for the lives that we have remaining, and we just want to grow and just journey this life together with all of you guys.
Yeah, Ray Kroc, founder of McDonald's, said, when you're green you grow, when you're ripe you rot. You're either coming or going, there's no rest in between. It may be nice to be laid back and be content, but there's nothing that goes on in the world of content. That's just a stopgap to be able to get ready for the next wonderful thing you're going to get involved with, being passionate about.
You know, something just came to me. I'm always getting these downloads through the day, into the night, especially 3 o'clock in the morning when the Holy Spirit goes, come on, I got something for you, and then I have to go figure out what it is. But I think rather than content, I love the word fulfilled. Right?
That's a good word.
Fulfilled. What fills you up? What fills you up? What brings the joy to you? My family, my husband, my Yorkies, looking at their eyes, and just life. You know, it could be so different, and there's always somebody worse off than we are. So we count our blessings in gratitude. Gratitude is fulfilling, isn't it?
Very much so. It goes a long way. Unforgiveness, gratitude, trust, those are key words of being happy. That was what I was going to elaborate on when I lost that moment.
When you had your moment?
When I had the moment.
Your senior moment?
It used to bother me. It doesn't bother me anymore because...
who cares?
I actually can honestly say that because of the Parkinson, I put more effort in the things before I wouldn't have given attention to.
Yes,
and they turn out to be very rewarding.
Yes, absolutely.
Because the good Lord, I believe He's up there, and He's looking for people like you and I that enjoy helping people. You want to change the universe? Help the next person that comes along, and help that person, and you'll help change the universe over a period of time. That's my belief, and it's all right to not believe it, but the thing is, one's a down frequency, the other's an up frequency. Whether you get what you want or want what you get, it doesn't matter as long as you stay positive.
That's right. Some people have trouble staying positive, but I promise you, if you will just sit back, this is another big thing that we must recommend, is have quiet time so that you can hear our Heavenly Father.
Pascal once said, all of human unhappiness comes with one single thing. All of human unhappiness comes with one single thing. Not being able to remain in a room alone and feel comfortable.
That's right. There's always something that's got to be going. The news, the radio, whatever it is that you're listening to.
They're afraid of themselves. They're afraid of what they'll say to themselves when they get in a room by themselves. So they don't want to be by themselves, so they hang out with people that they think make them happy, but ends up, well, you didn't make me happy.
Yeah.
And put the responsibility on you. That's what's so crazy. You can't get happiness from someone else. They can
That is
add
true.
to it.
That is true. That nobody can make you happy.
Didn't mean to interrupt you, dear. I'm sorry.
No. I get really fired up when I think about that. And the other thing is I wanted to mention is friends. Friends are really a very important part in our lives.
Boy, that's the truth.
I think I responded to somebody on Facebook yesterday, the day before, about friendship and how important it is to assess how you feel after you leave that friendship. Now, you talk about that all the time. When we're doing a little thing, a little talk or something, or even here, right?
Right. Well, if you really want to get along with people, if you really want to take my advice from the book or whatever, the one important thing is that you are able to look yourself in the mirror, that you did as good a job with making that person feel good, or how does that person feel when they leave your presence? Does the person feel better about themselves or worse about themselves when they leave your presence? And it doesn't take a lot to make somebody feel good. When they walk away, they feel good. And sometimes when you need a friend, because of the fact that you had, that's not the reason to do it, but you'll be surprised how many people will come to watch you and take care of you if you need that. If you need to really improve and have a group of people go to bat for you, it's amazing how they will. I've got 5 main friends. I have a lot of friends. I'm talking about, you know who I have, 5 main friends. And they have helped me at times when I was not in a position to help myself. And it was because of what I did for them. That wasn't the reason I did it, though. That what I did for them, and that goes a long way. How do they feel about themselves when they leave your presence?
Yeah, there's a lot to be said for that, and I know I've got quite a few friends as well, and I'm very grateful for those friends. I miss getting together with them, but I'm hoping soon enough that we'll be able to do that and go out as a joint effort with a large gathering again and get out on the dance floor and just have fun, just be. So just to kind of recap, we have less than 5 minutes, my friend.
What?
I know.
You're kidding me.
I am not. Look at the clock. It's three minutes and...
I never watch my clock when I'm doing one.
I know.
But it seems like we've only been doing this for 15, 20 minutes.
It's so easy to do. I also wanted to just give a little gift today for everybody. That Heart Math Institute is still offering the Heart Math experience. And this will give you some idea on that whole mind, body, spirit, and living a heart-empowered life. When you live a heart-empowered life, I want you to just stop and think, if you were able to make decisions clearly, succinctly, and know you were in the right lane, now I don't mean right and left, but in the proper lane as you travel on your pathway, on your journey through life. Think about how important that would be, because how many times do we second guess ourselves? I mean, it's taken me, well, a little less than 73 years, but I'm still learning about making the right decisions on things because I second guess myself from hearing that little voice in my head from many, many years ago. You're not good enough. But yet I will say, yes, I am. I am good enough. Then that little voice says, no, you're not. Yes, I am. No, you're not. It's crazy stuff, but it happens. From our generation, I don't know if you were raised that way with, the baby boomer generation and even yours. So we had to clean that all up ourselves after we found the way to do it. Heart Math Institute is the major, massive way. We have just about every book that they've written. My husband was there and became certified with Heart Math Institute, met Doc Childer. And we even sold the program, sold it out in less than 5 minutes on Home Shopping Network. So if you leave today with a few points that we've given to you and you take one from it, great. If you take more than one, great. We invite you to keep coming back. There will always be something. We're on Facebook under Barbara Marville-Kelly and Dennis Kelly. We have a few pages on there. There's several different ones that take off on the Fountain of Youth, the 6 Steps to the Fountain of Youth. And we share a lot on there. I'm not on there all the time because we do these shows and then we have other things that we're doing, working towards the, I don't want to say end results because there's no end in personal growth and development. Do you agree? We're learning every day. We can learn from you. We hear new stories all the time. Stories we never heard before.
Be a frequency raiser. See how many people you can raise their frequency. I play with that once in a while myself. If I see a waitress or something that look like she's really having a bad day, I'll do something or say something, and you know, to be able to help them a little bit. And you'd be surprised how sometimes then you come back to that restaurant or place and you get the best service.
They remember you. You know, it's easy to turn somebody around, and just by the way you talk, your body language, even a simple smile. You can tell, even wearing the, you know what, the masks, you can tell when somebody's smiling or not because their eyes sparkle. So you can still smile if you're still wearing your masks. And we're in for some really good times. I think we're at the crossroads. I think prayer is so much more important now than ever before because people have really lost themselves. So we've had our challenges, everybody has. So I just want to say thank you for joining us today, and we'll be covering more of the 6 Steps of the Fountain of Youth. We're going to be sharing some of my husband's manuscript secrets as well on how he was able to become a 6-time world champion, including with Parkinson's. I want to thank you for joining us today. The clock is winding down to 0. I love you.
I love you.
And we love you too. Be safe.
Absolutely.
See you next time.